please be seated, and one last time check those cell phones and electronic devices and make sure they're silenced. That's appreciated. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm John Scott, live in the WSFA Digital Center. We just got the 2-minute warning there from officials who are preparing to host the F-35A welcoming ceremony here in Montgomery. Multiple dignitaries on hand. This event again will start in about a minute and a half, and we will carry the entire event live. The Representative Terry Sewell. I know the Governor Kay Ivey is also in attendance, as well as multiple other dignitaries. There's former Representative
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, service members, community leaders, alumni, and distinguished guests. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Retired Pete Shin, and I am honored to be your Master of Ceremonies this morning. Today, we celebrate a decades-long history of accomplishments for the airmen of the 187th Fighter Wing, as we enter a new era with the arrival of the F-35A Lightning II Joint Strike Fighter to the Alabama Air National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as you are able for the arrival of the official party, and remain standing for the playing of ruffles and flourishes and the Stars and Stripes Forever, the presentation of the colors, the playing of our national anthem, and the invocation by Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Rick Steen. Military members present and in uniform will stand at the position of attention and face the colors during the national anthem. As we're indoors and uncovered, no hand salute is necessary. Civilians should stand and place their right hand over their heart. Chaplain Steen will now provide our invocation.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Lord, today marks a historical moment for the 187th Fighter Wing as we celebrate the arrival of the F-35 Lightning, the aircraft that will continue to represent our Tuskegee heritage. Thank you for our state and our local leaders and our senior military leaders who have worked tirelessly to make this day possible. Their efforts have ensured the Red Tail legacy for future generations. The Lightning will be the backbone of our nation's fighter fleet for years to come, and the Red Tails will lead the way. Father, I also thank you for the men and women of the 187th who will help execute our mission, for our enablers, including our maintainers, crew chiefs, logistics, fuels, munitions, and many others who will make it possible for the Red Tails to operate around the world in a moment's notice. And for our air crew, men and women who will be on the front lines, I ask, Lord, that you would make them lethal as they defend our nation's interest. As we begin this new era with the F-35, Lord, we live in uncertain and dangerous times. I pray that though we may have the most recent technology and the newest 5th-gen fighter, may our trust ultimately be in you. As the psalmist says, the horse is made ready for battle, but victory comes from the Lord. Help us to be good stewards of the mission we've been entrusted to fly, fight, and win. And may your hand be a blessing, may your hand of blessing be on this wing as we look to the future. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Steen. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, I will introduce the members of the official party. I'd ask that you please hold your applause until all these introductions are complete. First, the Governor of the State of Alabama, the Honorable Kay Ivey. Alabama's 43rd Adjutant General, Brigadier General David Pritchett. Special Assistant to the Director of the Air National Guard, Major General Randy Efferson. And the 187th Fighter Wing Commander, Colonel Brian Vaughn. I'd ask you to also please join me in welcoming our other distinguished guests this afternoon. And actually, that would be this morning. I would also ask that you hold your applause until all these introductions are complete, because if you don't, your hands may fall off. We begin starting with the civilian, federal, state, and local leadership of Alabama. From the United States Congress, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, Alabama District 7. Mr. Bill Harris, District Director for Congressman Barry Moore, Alabama District 2. Former Congresswoman Martha Roby, who represented District 2 from 2011 until 2021. From the United States Senate, Mrs. Dana McCain, State Director for Senator Katie Britt. Mrs. Cindy Pate, Montgomery Area Regional Director for Senator Tommy Tuberville. Representing Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth's office, Mr. Jess Skaggs, Chief of Staff. From the Alabama House of Representatives, Mr. Philip Pettis, District 1. Mr. Ben Harrison, District 2. Mrs. Susan DeBose, District 45. Mr. Philip Ensler, District 74. Mrs. Penny McClammy, District 76. Mr. Ed Oliver, District 81. Mr. Jerry Starnes, District 88. Mrs. Frances Hope Jones, District 95. And Mr. Mark Shirey, District 100. From the Alabama State Senate, Mr. Andrew Jones, District 10. And Mr. Clyde Chambliss, District 30. We're also pleased to welcome a number of other state and local officials, starting with the Alabama Secretary of Commerce, Ms. Ellen McNair. Representing the Alabama Emergency Management Association, Mr. Jeff Smitherman. From the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, retired Rear Admiral Kent Davis, Commissioner. Representing the Alabama Military Stability Commission, Brigadier General retired Trent Edwards and Mr. Nim Frazier. Representing the Alabama Military Stability Foundation, Mr. Jake Proctor, Executive Director. Representing the Montgomery Airport Authority, Mr. Wade Davis. From the Montgomery County Commission, Mrs. Rhonda Walker, District 3. Mr. Doug Singleton, District 5. Montgomery Mayor, Mr. Stephen Reed. Representing the Montgomery Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Karen Hughes, Chairman, and Mrs. Anna Buckaloo, President, along with multiple officers of the Chamber. Representing the Montgomery City Council, Councilman Ed Grimes. From the Montgomery City Hall, Mr. Eddie Compton, Senior Policy Advisor in Military Affairs. Opelika Mayor, Mr. Gary Fuller. Prattville Mayor, Mr. Bill Gillespie Jr. Tuskegee Mayor, Mr. Lawrence Haygood. Wetumpka Mayor, Mr. Jerry Willis. Former Mayor of Montgomery, Mayor Todd Strange. Now for leaders of our armed forces and military departments. Representing Alabama's state partner Romania is Major General Leonard Gabriel Baraboy, Chief of the Romanian Air Force. Deputy Adjutant General, Alabama National Guard, Major General Robert Presley. Director of the Joint Staff, Alabama National Guard, Brigadier General Jeff Smith. Air Component Commander, Alabama Air National Guard, Brigadier General Edward Casey, and the Alabama Air National Guard Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Bernadette Hollinger. Assistant to the Adjutant General for Air, Alabama Air National Guard, Brigadier General Tara McKinney. Chief of the Joint Staff, Alabama National Guard, Colonel Mike Davenport. Director of Staff, Alabama Air National Guard, Colonel Mike Taylor. Chief of Staff, Alabama Army National Guard, Colonel Josh Cloud. 187th Fighter Wing Deputy Commander, Colonel Jay Spone, and the 187th Fighter Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Mateo Williams. Wing Commander Eglin Air Force Base, Colonel Daniel Lehowski. Wing Commander Maxwell Air Force Base, Colonel Ryan Richardson. Wing Commander, 908th Airlift Wing, Montgomery, Alabama, Colonel Christopher Lacouture. Representing Tyndall Air Force Base, Colonel Chris Bergholt, Operations Group Commander. Representing Air University International Officer School, Colonel Alejandro Genster, Commander. Representing the LeMay Center Intelligence Office, Colonel Linda Davis, Commander. Representing the Officer Training School, Colonel Roxanne Toy, Deputy Commandant. Representing the 115th Fighter Wing, Wisconsin Air National Guard, Colonel Daniel Stotts, Mission Support Group Commander. We'd also welcome delegates from Air Combat Command and National Guard Bureau's A4, A5, and A7 directorates. Former Adjutant General, Air National Guard, Major General Retired Cheryl Gordon. Former Adjutant General, Alabama National Guard, Major General Retired Perry Smith. Former Director of the Joint Staff, Alabama National Guard, Brigadier General Retired Jeff Newton. Former Air Component Commander, Alabama Air National Guard, Brigadier General Retired William Sparrow. Former Assistant Adjutant General for Air, Alabama Air National Guard, Brigadier General Retired Paul Jacobs. Colonel Retired Roosevelt Lewis, President of Alabama Chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen and co-founder and president of the Aviation Council of Alabama. From business and industry, we'd like to welcome, representing the Air Force Association Montgomery Chapter 102, Mr. Scott Key, President, and Mr. Bruce Barton, Vice President. Representing Alabama Power, Mrs. Leslie Sanders, Vice President. Representing Goodwin Mills Kaywood Architecture and Engineering Firm, Mr. Jeff Hester, Aviation Manager. Representing Lockheed Martin, Mr. Ansel Yarborough, Director. Representing Montgomery Aviation, Mr. Charlie Hudgens. Representing Northrop Grumman Defense Systems, Mr. Mike Devine, Project Manager. Representing Pratt & Whitney, Mr. Tony Hyatt. Representing Shea and Litchfield, Mr. David Donovan, partner. And from Public Academia, we'd like to welcome, representing Alabama State University, Mr. Quentin Ross, Jr. And representing Troy University, Mr. Ray White, Vice Chancellor. And last, but certainly not least, we especially want to welcome all commanders, command chiefs, senior enlisted leaders, first sergeants, retired senior military and civilian leaders, members of the Red Tail family, fellow airmen, service members, personal family, friends. We are honored that all of you have joined us today. Now, folks, the airmen of the 187th Fighter Wing celebrated the arrival of the unit's first F-35s this past December and hold the distinction of being the third unit in the Air National Guard to receive and fly the F-35 Lightning II aircraft. This unit's history dates back more than 7 decades and includes a resume of multiple airframes flown under the state flag of Alabama since it was first established as an Air National Guard unit. It began with the RF-51D Mustang, followed by the RF-80A Shooting Star, the RF-84 Thunder Flash, the R4FC, or rather the RF-4C and D Phantom II, and finally the F-16 Viper was flown from 1988 until 2023. In 2007, the wing had the distinct honor of bringing the prestigious Red Tail Fighter Squadron and the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen back to Alabama, when the 160th Fighter Squadron was redesignated as the 100th Fighter Squadron, now charged with supporting the most advanced fighter aircraft mission in the world. The 187th Fighter Wing is prepared, motivated, and honored to accept this charge and continue a legacy of strength, perseverance, professionalism, and excellence that comes with being a part of that elite Red Tail history. With that, it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker this morning, the governor of the great state of Alabama, the Honorable Kay Ivey.
Good morning. What an exciting day here at the 187th as our Red Tails take on a new mission. In 2017, our own Danley Field was selected as one of 2 preferred guard locations across the entire country for the new F-35s to one day call home. Well, y'all, the wait is over. These F-35s represent more than just advanced military hardware. In Alabama, the presence of these remarkable machines serves as a constant reminder of our state's integral role in defending our nation. These mighty aircrafts, with their sleek designs and thunderous roars, symbolize not only the strength of these United States of America, but also the grit and determination of Alabama. From the skilled workers who contributed to their construction and the maintenance to the brave pilots who soar through the skies, our state plays a vital role in the F-35 program. We thrive on the opportunities these aircrafts bring, from the jobs created to the infrastructure to build them. And when an F-35 streaks across the Alabama sky, nothing sounds more patriotic or screams America than that unmistakable roar. Now that's the sound of our great nation's unwavering resolve and unmatched military might. It's a clear reminder that our state is at the forefront of defending freedom, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. As these aircraft take flight, they inspire pride in our country and remind us of the sacrifices made by generations past to secure our freedoms and prosperity. Together, we salute the brave men and women who serve on the front lines. As Alabamians, we stand shoulder to shoulder with our nation's finest, knowing that our deliberate and well-executed contributions are securing a brighter, safer tomorrow for all. May God continue to bless each of you, the great state of Alabama, and these United States of America.
Thank you, Governor Ivey. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the stage Alabama's 43rd Adjutant General, Brigadier General David Pritchett.
Governor Ivey, our congressional delegates, our state community and local officials, our partners from Romania, and last but not least, of course, our 187th men and women of the 187th Wing, good morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to join you in this momentous occasion here today. You know, there's an old adage that we often hear about the National Guard: we do more with less. And while we are very well trained and we're very well equipped, we're one of the most equipped forces in the world, there's an element of truth to that idea. It's a concept that ultimately boils down to the character and the commitment of our guardsmen. It's a sentiment that can be seen so clearly even in our recent history of this unit of the 187th. While our squadrons across our brothers and sisters in arms in the Air Force and our flying counterparts in the Navy and Marines were employing fifth-generation fighters and bombers, the 187th continued to pace and surpass their peers on readiness and ACE, agile combat employment tactics. Operating on fourth-generation missions, this fighter wing remained a defense leader with an unmatched record of reliability and reputation that precedes them across the world. The Red Tails have been sought as expert trainers and consultants, not only across our own force, but among those of our partner nations, such as our Romanian brothers that are here with us today. The wing carries a sterling name with it and has built up over the decades, and decades of integrity, of service, and excellence in all they do. Nothing deserves the credit for that except for their tireless work, unsayable standards, and unwavering dedication of the airmen of the 187th. And while the 187th may not reach their full operational readiness status until February of 2026, maybe earlier, they are, as we would say in the Army, they are leaning forward in their foxholes, and they will participate in a 2-week training exercise, Century Savannah, this May, followed by Combat Hammer in 2025. Today, we celebrate what can be done when you take a team that does more with less and you give them more. This has been a long time coming. So many partners played a role in getting the F-35s here to Danley Field. So this day is not just for the 187th, but it's the entire team of teams. Our state and local partners, our federal delegation, our supportive community, and many others who have been dedicated to ensuring our Alabama airmen remain at the very forefront of military capability. This is an incredible achievement. And while we celebrate today, I want to assure you and this wing and our entire Air National Guard family that we all remain committed to ensuring our airmen never leave the bleeding edge, and we are already building our team of teams to fight for the 117th Wing and their new platform and the new ramp in Birmingham. Your state and your command are in this with you. We are committed to delivering greatness at home and across the globe. We are committed to accelerating change, to agile combat employment, large-scale combat operations, and to winning every conflict in which we find ourselves. We are committed to maintaining our unmatched professional excellence and leading the way in joint operations, and we are committed to meeting our pacing and acute threats alike with the best equipped, superbly piloted, finely maintained, fifth-generation warfighters that they can't hope to match. Thank you all for joining us here today for this celebration as we stay always ready, always there.
Thank you, General Pritchett. Please join me in welcoming now the Special Assistant to the Director of the Air National Guard, previous Alabama Air National Guard Chief of Staff and 187th Fighter Wing Commander, Major General Randy Efferson.
Yeah! Dude, man, it's so good to be here, I'm telling you. And when that guy says my name, I feel like I'm at a Monster Energy Supercross race. That is awesome. No, seriously, I mean, what a great day, and especially for the folks in the stands back there. I mean, y'all are the future of America. So, yeah, there's a standing O for you folks, for sure. Outstanding. And, you know, one of the questions I get all the time, what is the difference between fourth generation and fifth generation? And I've got a great depiction of that for you that's going to explain it 100%. So if you go to the next slide. So the fourth generation is working in the Pentagon with no hair. The fifth generation is still taking hero shots out on the flight line, and they still have no hair. But they promise that with next generation air dominance. So we got that to look forward to. No, but seriously, one of the questions I do get all the time, and this is a little bit of an education thing, but they go, and this, so I work at the Pentagon, right? And I get this all the time from regular Air Force, regular Army, and all these folks. That go, why does the governor of Alabama need F-35s? And I'm like, dude, Miss K does not need those, but you do. And here's why. Go to my next slide. So, a bunch of reasons, and some of y'all may have seen this slide, but that's China on the left, predicted in 25. That's 2 years away. And if you look over there on the right, the blue stuff kind of down the right-hand side, I mean, that's like the United States military, but then you add in the Marine Corps, the Navy, the partners and allies, and everybody. So if you put everything on the planet together, you kind of have about the same parity for numbers. And that's pretty freaking scary. And that's the real difference between fourth generation and fifth generation. That fifth generation is the technology that brings our smaller numbers able to take on the masses that we may see on the battlefield. And that's super important. So if you don't remember anything else, that's what we're up against. And it's a shout out to our friends from Romania here today, because they're the people that make up the rest of that football team to go forward and win the game. Hit the next one for me, because I got some more points. So this is back to the question about why does the governor need F-35s? You know, you do, and here are kind of the reasons why. I mean, the National Guard was created before the rest of the services, and the reason the Founding Fathers did that was because when we go to war, they want the American people to be behind it. And when you pull a National Guard or reserve unit out of the community where we live for 30 years with our families who are ingrained, you know, it's a big deal. It hurts. And so they didn't want them to take that responsibility lightly. And I tell you, the community here, we could accidentally drop a bomb and the city would go, woo! But don't worry, we're not going to do that. We got you. Not going to be a problem. But the community ties, I mean, that's huge. And then the cost. So this one of the things I've been doing at the Pentagon is working on a cost analysis. And we've shown, using the Air Force, regular Air Force's data, that we've operated these F-16s out here for the life of these F-16s at 42% cheaper per year than the regular Air Force does. And then the bonus that you're getting is all the experiences. Everybody's an old person like me out here because we got, 10,000 hours in jets, and we're instructor pilots, and we're all that experience that was built on the regular Air Force, and then we affiliated with the National Guard to retain that experience. And this unit has over a 90% retention rate. So when people join us, they stay. And they stay because we love doing that stuff for America. And so that's the cost. The other thing I'll get into, I guess, is the lifespan of the equipment that we have here. So again, the regular Air Force, their F-35s are probably going to last about 10 years less than ours because we fly them less, because we don't need to, because we're all experienced. And the model that we have right here, so this base is located on like 60 acres that sits here on the side of the field. It's a civilian joint use field. And our contract for 100 years is like $1. So it's like a penny a year for us to rent this property from the city. And the only in-kind sharing that we do is we provide the firefighting services for the civilian airfield as well as our military response. And we're also tied in with our security forces and fire department downtown. So, I mean, America is getting a huge bargain by having the jets here in this outfit. Go to the next slide. So here's a global reach. And I kind of already talked about it with my good friend Lion. If you see a little square down there in the corner, that's our state partnership program where we are partnered with Romania. And almost every National Guard unit across the country has a state partner somewhere in the world. And so we'll grow up, our young folks will know Romanians for like their entire lifespan. And when we get somebody that's an air chief and we get somebody that's a wing commander here or a chief for downtown, they know each other. And this was hugely instrumental in helping the communications with Ukraine when that whole thing kicked off. That was California. They had it. I remember we took 10 F-16s to Ukraine and had a ball. So good partnering there. So if you didn't realize too, this was the second time we came up for the F-35. We lost the first time. And so when the question came around again, go to the next slide. I'll tell you, our entire state mobilized. That's our Congress people sitting down here. It's our governor sitting over at the Military Stability Commission. And one of the most instrumental places was the Chamber of Commerce, Mayor Strange and all the team down there. And also, the mayors from all the surrounding communities came in and they said, hey, Juicy Boy, what do we need? And I said, well, these are our weaknesses. And they made it happen. They spent money. They bought the land that's on the south end of the runway out here. They built this new entry control point that you guys probably all came through today. It's beautiful. It cost millions of dollars, and they just added it into our penny-a-year lease that we've got going. And then the other thing they did for the state, and Governor Ivey signed this into law, was the tuition assistance program. So anybody that joins the National Guard, that's Army or Air, gets their college paid for. And I'm like, dude, how can you pass that up? So one other thing today is recruiting all you young folks out there, go out and bring somebody else in the military. We're going to need that for sure. Go to the next slide. This was just talking about, we identified those weaknesses and they took action. The last story I'll tell, so the competition was airspace, weather, people, locations, community support, how much is it going to cost to build the facilities. All that stuff goes into like 2 slides that get presented at the Pentagon for the Secretary of the Air Force. And then they go, okay, I pick, contestant number 2. Well, we were not represented correctly. Our slide was bad. And I found out about it. I almost got fired, but I didn't, which is good. And, but, the bureaucracy wouldn't listen. And so we talked to these 2 ladies up here, and they got on the phone, and they got a Mrs. Kay Granger from the Texas Coalition, and they called Heather Wilson, who was the Secretary of the Air Force at the time, and said, hey, man, something ain't right. You need to go look for yourself. And she got on a plane. I came back from Iraq, Syria stuff that time. She flew down here, and she met us on the ramp, me and Swapper, And she toured the base, and she's like, "Where is everybody?" And I said, "Well, they're all deployed. You know, that's what we do." And so the base is kind of, you know, bare bones at the time. And she wasn't sure. And so she's walking across the ramp. We get into operations, and she grabs 4 young airmen. She grabs Alex Anderegg. Is Alex here, Sanka? He's not here. He still gets credit. He's flying. Okay, nice. Latasha Jackson, Adrian McMillan, and Chris Oliver. She took those 4 into a room and had a private, just the Secretary of the Air Force and those 4 young airmen, and had a conversation for about 30 minutes with them. She came out and she said, "Thank you very much for the visit. I'll be in touch." And I tell you, about 2 weeks later, we got the call, "You're it." So if nothing else, that kind of describes the team that made this happen. I mean, it was all pieces coming together at the right time to make that happen. Go to the next slide. And I tell you, when the jets showed up the other day, and we had this crowd, this is, you know, from our arrival jets, I think it was December 9th or something like that. But, you know, all those faces, seeing that next generation come out there was amazing. And I tell you, so in Desert Storm, we had 134 fighter squadrons. The country did. Today, we have about 55. And over the next 5 years, we stand to lose 7 Air National Guard squadrons because there's no future aircraft for them. You know, the country can't buy them quick enough to replace them as they're going out of date. Like the unit up in Maryland, Selfridge, Michigan, you know, the A-10s. So there's about 5 or 7 units that we could lose in 5 years. And that's one of the things I told the city is, if we don't win on this round, there may not be another round. And that's turned out to be exactly right, because there may not be fighters for those next units. And go to the next slide. And I just want to mention that we've ensured the legacy of these folks right here, I think, probably for the next 100 years in manned fighter aircraft. Yeah! So, I know I'm over time. But that's all I got, other than to say, I'm Randy Efferson, I love America, and I approve this message. Hey!
Well, how awesome was that? Thank you, General Efferson. And at this time, I'd like you to help me please welcome the commander of the 187th Fighter Wing, Colonel Brian Vaughn.
And I got to follow that. Holy cow. Well, thank you, Governor Ivey, Colonel Pritchett, General Efferson, all of our representatives here, ladies, our Romanian partner that flew from the Atlantic to be over the Atlantic to be here. Thank you. Thank you for everyone that put this together. I got to watch yesterday as all these smiling faces were running around, working hard, but excited to share this day with you. So thank you for all those that made this possible, because it was a big effort. We are proud, and I can't say that enough, we are proud to be the home of the Red Tails. And we are proud to have each and every one of you here with us today to celebrate this legacy. For this has been years in coming. Lots of sweat and tears, lots of hard work, lots of conversations, lots of long hours. But today is here. And today is for you. And we are excited to have you celebrate this day as we take the traditions, the excellence, the dedication, the selfless sacrifice of the Tuskegee Airmen into the next decade. And hopefully for the next century. And we will call on that same dedication, we'll call on that same self-sacrifice if needed into combat to defend this great nation. And this is why we say, Red Tails, we deliver. For the original Red Tails delivered American bombers from the threats of German fighters over the skies of Europe. They delivered revenge and justice upon the enemy, in air-to-air combat and on ground and naval targets. They also deliver on the home front by delivering equality and justice to help make a more perfect union. They delivered, and so will we. When we are called up, we will deliver sacrificially to defend our nation, state, and community with excellence, integrity, equality, and justice against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The original Red Tails took pride in defending American bomber crews and defeating American enemy air defenses, and so will we. We will protect American forces with our lives if necessary, and we will take the fight to the enemy. Today, and in just a few moments, you will see how proud we are and how we will protect and proclaim the honor of the Tuskegee Airmen. The red tail you will see will be a reminder to all that through excellence, we will overcome any obstacle or threat, regardless of sex, gender, or religion. We will make sure that we are standing up for equality for all, and the racial bias that the Tuskegee Airmen fought against is preserved today. This is the 80th anniversary of the 100th Fighter Squadron entering combat operations against Nazi forces in Europe. For the 100th was part of the 332nd Fighter Group that was composed of the Fighting 99th, who entered combat first, the 100th, that we are home to, the 301st, and the 302nd Fighter Squadrons. Our beloved Tuskegee Airmen in the 332nd Fighter Group, who trained just up the road here in Alabama, were the Army Air Force's first African-American pilots who broke racial barriers during World War II to fight for a country they loved, despite the threats they and their families faced at home. The Tuskegee Airmen in the 332nd Fighter Group flew more than 15,000 sorties between May of 1943 and June of 1945, with the 100th Fighter Squadron entering combat in February of 1944. They got the nickname Red Tails for distinct red markings on their P-51s, very similar to the one you see to your left. They earned 8 Purple Hearts, 14 Bronze Stars, 3 Distinguished Unit Citations, and 96 Distinguished Flying Crosses. It's unheard of. Today, on the eve of potential conflict with peer nations, namely China, who wants to see a broken and divided United States, the unity and excellence of the Red Tails is needed again. For it is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just as our founding forefathers who sacrificed all to establish a country where it is self-evident that all men and women are created equal and given inalienable rights by their Creator, just as generations of soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen have gone before us and bled and sacrificed on foreign lands to defend the Constitution and each other. Just as the Tuskegee Airmen taught us to fight in unity with a shared vision. Just as the nation stood together after December 7th, 1941 and September 11th, 2001. Let us stand together, let us fight together, and let us accelerate the Red Tail legacy together. This day would not be possible without you. This day would not be possible without the Tuskegee Airmen. This day would not be possible without the Red Tails. This day would not be possible without the Red Tail family. Thank you for your unwavering support. Thank you for your dedication. Each of you, every one of you here in this room today, made this day possible. May God bless you and these United States of America, and Red Tails, we deliver.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are moments away from officially welcoming the 187th Fighter Wing's next chapter of its distinguished history. As we prepare for that moment, please enjoy this brief video.
It is my pleasure, as governor of the great state of Alabama, to tell you that the Secretary of the Air Force, Heather Wilson, called me early this morning to tell me that she has chosen the Alabama Air National Guard's 187th Fighter Wing here in Montgomery to be the future home of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter Jet.
To solve problems, to get after the missions, to take care of their people, and to employ combat power in the F-35 when we're called to do it. And when we are called to do it, we're going to be the best in the business.
We just ensured that the original Tuskegee legacy that was established before the Air Force was even the Air Force is going to continue for another 50 years right here where its home is in the state of Alabama.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? All right, if you're ready, it's now time to unveil our Heritage F-35 Red Tail. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the future of the Alabama Air National Guard for decades to come, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you again. Colonel Vaughn, Brigadier General Pritchett, Major General Efferson, and Governor Ivey for your inspiring words today and for all of the airmen who made that presentation possible. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the formal ceremony. After the playing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party, please make your way just outside the hangar for a special aerial event. Now, you must remain in the area marked by the red lines on the ground or roped off, because our security team will make sure that you do, but also please remain in the authorized area. After the special event, the red tail will be available for pictures, and please refrain from any photos until after the arriving aircraft have parked.
You have been listening to the arrival ceremony of the F-35 here in Montgomery at the 187th. We are going to go ahead and wrap this press conference up. I am John Shryock live in the WSFA Digital Center. We are going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we will see you for the next special event.